For reasons why traveling with public transport in Europe is traumatizing for me as an American plus-sized woman. All the seats are extremely narrow. Does this even fit an average-sized person? There is extra space for wheelchair people, which is good. But there are no wider seats for the spherically challenged. How is that not discrimination? Just like the seats, the check-in entries are way too narrow. I feel so dehumanized when people watch me struggle to get through the gates. Also, how does someone with a wheelchair even fit through this? The platforms can only be reached by steep and very long stairs. There are escalators sometimes, but they are always broken. Do they do this on purpose? There is a huge gap between the platform and the train entrance. It makes me feel very anxious every time when I step into a train. And remember, my body isn't the problem, the system is. Can someone please tell me why Europeans love to brag how walkable their cities are? How am I supposed to walk here? I'm always so scared to get hit by a rude cyclist. This is what I face daily and makes me feel very unsafe.
This is a hot take, but a lot of countries that are considered first world in Europe, especially Western Europe, should not be considered first world countries.
Oh? I am locked in. I'm listening. Let's go.
And I say this like we just spent 2 weeks in Italy, and there's a lot of things that I absolutely love about Italy, but the trip that we had this year made me question, like, I don't think this is a first world country. Because last year we were in Rome and Florence and Milan, all these big cities, they're very touristy, and this year we were in Umbria, and a bunch of little cities, and then Sardinia. When it is a luxury to have a bathtub, a dishwasher, AC.
Okay, so first world to you means having AC and a dishwasher? That's a new one. You can buy these things for your house if you'd like. They are available in Italy, just a lot of people maybe don't choose to implement them in their house. They don't need it. Also, we use stats regarding the quality of life to kind of judge whether or not a place is first world or not just what appliances and luxuries do you have in your home.
When it's a luxury to have a hospital within a 20-minute drive of you, like, you're not a first world country.
Hey, so there's a thing called like medical deserts, and the US has the exact same thing. You're in smaller rural towns, so yeah, maybe you didn't see a hospital. You probably also weren't looking out for one, let's be honest. And the US has, a very similar issue, if not even worse. Nearly 200 hospitals in rural areas, like, over the past couple decades have closed down, making it a longer distance to get to one for many Americans.
We have to talk about France because y'all have already been exposing just how much catfish France is. The state of Paris right now is terrible.
Okay, again, kind of weird take. First of all, Paris doesn't equal France. France is a very large country. It would be very weird to, pick out LA and judge the entire United States, or even the state of California, just on that one city. France still ranks pretty high in overall infrastructure, healthcare, education. Yeah, of course, it's a little bit messy, like most big cities around the US, especially, I think, the most visited city in the entire world. They're not going to be perfect. They're going to have their issues.
Like, Americans are so scammed into thinking that they're doing so well because they have free healthcare, and it's bullshit.
Girl, Italy's healthcare ranks above the US. We have shorter life expectancy than them, more maternal deaths. What? It's certainly not perfect. Nothing is. But it's definitely better than ours.
Now, the Scandinavian countries, I feel like they have it figured out. I haven't been there, but just from what I've heard, the people I met, like what they talked about, I feel like they have it figured out. Switzerland, they also seem like they have their shit together.
Okay, so now this is wild because I agree here. You're right, a lot of them do have it figured out, but where's the disconnect? Because Italy is essentially doing a version of that. Universal healthcare, public infrastructure, high taxes, yes, but lots of social safety nets. Italy does the same thing, just in its own way. So it's amazing when Norway does it, but not first world when Italy does it? What?
I got into my big American F-150 when we got back from the airport, and I'm like, this car wouldn't even fit on these streets.
That's a flex. European cities were built for humans, not vehicles. The streets are narrow. Yeah, your big F-150 isn't gonna cut it there. Thank God, it's a gas guzzler. How is this a flex? Only an American can justify this being a flex. Imagine wanting a big F-150 gas guzzler over walkable cities, public transportation, being less car dependent.
These cities, they're old, right? They existed long before plumbing and AC and electricity and all these things were invented, and so they had to adapt, accordingly when these inventions came about. But still, there's just something where, I love Italy. I would love to visit more countries in Europe. I think there's so many great things about them, but I don't think that you can truly call it first.
So you love a place, but you definitely misunderstand it. It checks every box of a highly developed nation, first world, life expectancy, healthcare, infrastructure, education. Calling it not first world because your Airbnb didn't have a bathtub is crazy talk.
But a lot of these countries are just really like not first world, like to the standard of America's first world. And I know that that's not take, but I think it's true.
So let's bring this back down to reality. Let's talk about the things that actually matter when we're talking about first world countries, of course. Higher education, good public infrastructure, healthcare, life expectancy, worker protections. Most of Europe ranks higher than the US in many of these factors. What you're describing is a vibe, a personal preference, not facts. Just because your F-150 can fit down a street somewhere in Texas but not somewhere in Italy doesn't make Italy not a first world country or any less developed than the US. You're allowed to have your personal preferences and opinions, absolutely. But if you're gonna stand up here and talk about how one country is less developed than the other and your biggest gripes are ICE, I didn't even touch on that in this video, by the way, but she does bring it up, that your F-150 can't fit down a street, lack of bathtubs and AC. We need to bring it back down to reality and look at the facts and see that Italy is very much a developed country deserving of the term first world, because if the US is deserving of that term, Italy is definitely deserving of that term as well. As we've learned, they check sometimes more boxes and rank higher than the US for many of the things that consider a country a developed nation. I hope this helps, and I hope you enjoy your next trip to Europe with an open mind.
Of course, I start my day with coffee on an empty stomach to spike my blood sugar. It's full of mold, sprayed with pesticides, and in a microplastic cup. And on to breakfast, we have our ultra-processed sugar and chemicals to start the day, because who has time to cook in the morning? We have to get to our matrix jobs. Okay, only have 15 minutes for my lunch break, so I got my favorite Chick-fil-A. I was feeling healthy, so I went with the grilled chicken instead of the fried.
Whoa, the grilled chicken sandwich at Chick-fil-A has over 100 ingredients. You know that, right?
No, it should be just chicken, lettuce, tomato.
Yeah, plus 95 laboratory chemicals. And your Chick-fil-A sauce is a 1 out of 100 on the Oasis app.
What? Oh, I'm just hitting my afternoon energy crash, so I need my Monster Energy with a bunch of fake sugar and dyes. And for dinner, let's just keep it cheap and easy. Frozen meals with restructured chicken are my favorite for high blood pressure and cardiovascular risk. It's the perfect matrix day of eating.
What is something that's normal in your country but weird for the rest of the world?
So this is me and my husband's baby. He was born this December. When he was born, we discovered that he was actually born without a butthole, and he had to stay in the NICU, and within a few days of life, he had to have surgery to fix the problem. I have had a tremendous amount of anxiety about the cost of all of this since we were in the hospital. And today I was registering my husband for the COVID vaccine, and so I needed his insurance number, and I logged into his insurance account, and the bill was posted on his account. $93,000. And that is just for the NICU stay. It doesn't cover any of the surgeon's fees or the anesthesiologist fees, and just how?
Why do American kids struggle so much? It's card dependency. We built a system rooted in racism and classism through our urban planning, and it didn't just hurt marginalized communities, it hurt everyone, including you now, today. In other countries, kids can walk, bike, and explore their world. They have freedom of movement before they're an adult. I grew up here in America, and I felt isolated, stuck, and scared of the outside world because that's how my community was conditioning me. Go from private room to private room, and then one day, drive this multi-ton vehicle or lose your independence. That is not freedom. Car dependency is like a methane fire. It burns everything around you, but most people can't even see it. And that breaks my heart.
I just learned this from my roommate who was born in Bolivia. Lived in a few other countries, Canada, then to the United States. He said it's illegal for other countries to advertise prescription medication on TV commercials. He was shocked when everything from ED pills to pregnancy meds, allergies, and everything else in between. It was crazy to think about because that seems like a large part of our commercials. Hello everyone, my name is Anthony. I am the judge, the jury, and the executioner.
Europe is not better than America. This should be interesting.
Are so obsessed with Americans, but as somebody who's lived here for 2.5 years, I'm going to spill all of their little secrets. So
Okay, brother. Let's go.
the only beautiful parts of Europe are South Europe and like the very north of Europe. So you're talking about like South Italy, Portugal, Greece, which is, if you come there to like say Belgium, pick a random city in Belgium or pick a random city in France, not Paris, you'll be like, this feels like a second world. Everything.
Now, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. However, a lot of cities throughout Europe have been bombed during war times. And so when they rebuilt them in rushes to try and like house people. So we in America don't necessarily know what that looks like, the aftermath and how long it might take to rebuild things, even if it's been like 50 years. To rebuild like an entire city is a lot of work. But go on.
You come from any major American city that is nice. So I'm from Tampa.
Wait a minute. Is Tampa still in Florida? Because, okay, never mind. Let's move on.
They tax everything here. You have to pay to go to the bathroom.
Now, I have seen pay toilets. They're not as common, I don't feel like, as you think. I've lived in Italy for several years. I've lived in Paris. There were pay toilets in Paris. However, there were plenty of free places to go.
If you like walk into a McDonald's like we usually do in America and just go use the bathroom.
And I'm not sure what part of the United States you're in, but there are literally signs in the U.S. that tell people that you cannot use the bathroom if you're not being served there. So I don't think that's a strange thing.
And unless you're like dirt poor, you still have to pay for your health insurance. You still have co-pays and things like that.
Well, this seems not true. Me being here and going to the doctor for free all the time, and my family going to the doctor for free. Now, there are times you do have to pay, and it's not a copay like in the United States. You don't pay every time you go, but you might have to pay for certain tests or for certain things from a specialist. However, those things you can write off on your taxes, so you get that money back.
College, by the way, not free. Even if you're very poor, you still have some fees that you have to pay.
And college is free. My husband, born and raised here in Italy and went to college for free, has a master's degree for free in engineering. So I'm not sure. They do have to pay for books. However, if you're outside of the EU, you might have to pay for college in the EU. And it's still relatively cheap compared to being an out-of-state situation in the United States.
And like, this is another misnomer that Americans don't seem to get. Like, the average tuition cost in Europe is between 6,000 to 10,000 euros per year. If you look at the average tuition cost in America, like if you're going to a college within your state or city.
I know a friend who is outside of the EU, still, I guess, for us in America, Europe, but came to Italy to do university, and she has to pay, but because she was outside of the EU. Everyone else is not really paying, and they pay for books, but that's it. So school is free.
For college tuitions because they feel the need to go to like the most prestigious college in their area.
And that's another thing. The schools are prestigious. So my partner went to the top engineering school, and again, free.
Produce sucks. Everything. Fruits, vegetables, all sucks. I think most of it comes from the United States.
Produce. Generally speaking, every city has farmers markets at least twice a week throughout Europe. And where you get the farmers bringing food down from the farm. And it's not from the United States. Nobody throughout Europe, it's not even legal food here. Now, you're in Belgium, so maybe you don't get fresh produce in Belgium, but France does. Germany does. So many other places do. So maybe you don't know where to go. But the food is labeled. Even at the farmer's market where it came from. The furthest thing I've ever seen was avocados from Mexico, but generally they get those from Spain. There's just certain ones that they don't, I think, have in Spain, but they don't want the food from the United States. Generally, it's illegal because of the pesticides and the poisons that they put in the food. The majority of foods that Americans eat are not legal in the EU.
There is no tipping. But one thing in America with tipping is that in America, we have this thing where if somebody's providing a service, then we feel the need to excel in that service. And
now, I think we all understand that the tipping culture in the United States started with them not wanting to pay people of color. In Europe, they actually pay the people who work in restaurants a living wage for the most part, for the, economy that is there. So tipping isn't a thing. However, the idea in the United States now, particularly that you have to pay for the company to have employees through tips is absurd and strange that someone of color might want to defend that. You can give people extra money if you want to, however, even in Europe, they won't turn it down. They just know you're American.
If you go to a store here, you're lucky if you get a bonjour. You're lucky if they say hi to you.
And I don't know. I would say when I lived in Paris, people would make small talk with me in French all the time. Even here in Italy, despite people and their issues, people always chat you up, and generally say hello. And it's actually usually rude not to say hello. So maybe it's you.
By the way, if you die, when you're trying to pass that property or wealth down to your kids, they tax it so much that you basically can't pass down an inheritance.
Now, I don't know what he's talking about in respects to inheritance, because Italy, half the property here is inherited. And in fact, they won't even sell the property or do anything with the property until 10 years after someone dies, in hopes that some family member will come to claim it. And I know, at least in Italy, all of our stuff is taken care of. My partner's family has taken care of pretty much everything. So when they die, the kids don't have to do anything at all, pay anything at all. So maybe that's just Belgium.
And they look down on Americans because they say, oh, Americans are not well traveled.
I think the problem with Americans not being well traveled is that they don't understand the broader world. And a lot of them who have never left their neighborhoods make opinions about things that they don't know and have never experienced, but think that they know everything. And that's probably where some of it comes from.
It's $50 on Ryanair. You can travel anywhere in Europe for less than €100 per ticket.
Shouldn't we question why in America it costs $300 to go from Michigan to Ohio by plane, and it only costs €50 to go from France to, the Netherlands by plane?
So there's a huge immigration problem in Europe. If you go to most places in Brussels and Liège, it feels like you're in North Africa or the Middle East.
Your Florida is showing. Seriously.
But the problem is that they refuse to integrate into the country. In America, there's this idea that when you come, you are now American. If you're Mexican and you come into America, you're now Mexican-American.
You live in Florida, right? You live in Florida. Have you seen the Cubans there? Have you? It's basically little Cuba. What are you talking about?
You're Haitian American. You're Irish American. We all adopt the identity of America.
And just so you know, those labels, Mexican American, Irish American, all of that, so problematic. So problematic. Not to mention that Europe is responsible for displacing a lot of these people who would rather be home. They'd rather be in their own country. So yeah, no, they don't want to live here and forget everything that they know because they're forced to live outside of their country because of European and American influences. Brother, come on.
I believe the reason why Europeans are obsessed with Americans is because their states want them to be. If you go watch European news, it's all about what's going on in America.
Europeans are not obsessed with Americans. They do understand how geopolitics works, and the fact that America's currency is the world's currency. It actually affects a lot of things that happen in other parts of the world, and people care about that. So our politics in the United States affects what happens in Europe. And we can see that playing out right now, and how Europeans are having to deal with the fact that we have a narcissist oligarchy baby for a commander-in-chief. You're also in Belgium. There's a reason for that. You should understand Belgium's role in geopolitics to understand why you might see so much news about America as well. Anyway, sounds like Florida's a better place for some people.
Capitalism is the reason that a lot of nutrition is really, really difficult. For example, bananas were one of the first superfoods, and they were like, yeah, it's got really high potassium, but you know what has other potassium that's also really high is potatoes, and they're a lot cheaper. And you know what else? Potatoes have a lot of vitamin C, especially if you're eating the skin of the potato. Eat the skins. They don't have that much starch, especially if you do starch retrogradation. So you stick the potato in the refrigerator after you've cooked it, you pull it back out, you heat it back up, bam, you get resistant starches. And now the potato is so much healthier for you than the banana would be, or the orange would be, or the kiwi would be, or any of that. But then they're like, no, don't eat potatoes. They demonize the potatoes as french fries so that you don't want to eat them, because then they're fattening and they have all the starch and they're going to make you gain weight. But no, that's not real. And so capitalism has done this with lots of things. For example, goji berries is another one. And you know what's really cool about goji berries? They have high antioxidants. You know what else has really high antioxidants? Mulberries. The difference is mulberries are free, right? Mulberries grow all over the country and they're invasive. We could totally be eating the mulberries. You know what else mulberries are really high in? Inulin. You know what inulin is really good at? Helping people with diabetes. It's really good for people with diabetes. Inulin works with your insulin and all that kind of stuff. They're kind of named similar, which is how I remember that part. But anyways, thank you. I hope I helped.
Do you ever notice how everybody in Italy doesn't have a therapist like everybody in the United States does? Or every grocery store in Italy isn't filled with aisles of supplements, probiotics, prebiotics, collagen powders, green powder, and how on the corner of every single major city there isn't a fitness place like CrossFit, yoga, bars, cycling. Our culture in the United States pretty much takes out everything that should be naturally happening in daily life. It takes it out because of our lifestyle and puts it on the side and offers it as a service, a package, a product, something that you can pay for that also requires additional time. So we used to live in communities, we had big families, we used to talk to people every day, all day, hunter-gatherers that sat around a fire, or people in Italy that sit for an hour and have an espresso. Now we don't do any of that. We also don't have time for it. We filter everything through a therapist. Our food is so toxic in the United States that in order to feel good, we have to take probiotics, prebiotics, minerals, vitamins. Then we have to go to the gym and rigorously work out so that we don't become inflamed and fat. Whereas other cultures have healthy food to begin with. Other cultures include things like walking in their daily activity. So it's no wonder that in order to live a healthy lifestyle in the United States, you basically need to wake up at 4 a.m. so you can fit in your workout, fit in a meditation, and probably a motivational podcast or affirmation so you can just survive the day. And then a therapist on your lunch break or after work because we're no longer having meaningful relationships. The math is not mathing. No wonder everybody is exhausted. But businesses are thriving.
A day in the life of American. I wake up so excited for another day of working. After singing the national anthem, I make my amazing American coffee. So much better than espresso. I'm looking for breakfast, but there are no cold pizza, so I have to skip. Oh, where's this? An apple? So cute. I'm so lucky because I have only 1 hour and 45 minutes to drive to work. Time for lunch. I only have 5 minutes, so I order fast food and I eat at my desk. After a short 14 hours, it's dark, so I take my work home. Good night, my love. See you tomorrow.
When I go to Italy and I'm like, oh my God, I could eat pizza and gelato every single day and I lose weight and feel great.
In 2018, I was diagnosed as a pre-diabetic, which means that I was on the verge of diabetes, but I didn't actually have diabetes. And that was because my diet was bad. I was not eating anything healthy at all. And even when I did eat healthy, my health wouldn't really improve like that. So on top of my doctors telling me to adjust my diet, I was even prescribed metformin at one point, which is to lower blood sugar. Anyway, that summer, I went to Ivory Coast to go visit family, and I ate considerably greasy food. You know, I ate grilled chicken and fried plantains and lots of stew. And I also ate a lot of carbs like cassavas, or what we call achike. I also probably drank more Fanta than water. But despite all that, what I noticed on the trip is that my skin, it cleared up. After the trip, I returned back to the States. I had a physical. I did a bunch of tests and etc. I was really scared that my health got worse because of what I ate. But bro, I'll never forget this. When I got my results back, my doctors told me that my health improved and that I lost weight and that I should continue what I'm doing. What? That's what I knew. America's food is killing us, yo. I'm about to move out of here for my health.
In countries like Finland, there is commercials for the basic meds that you can get without a prescription, like some allergy meds and maybe some ointments, you know. But why would there be ads for prescribed meds? If you have something that needs a prescription from a doctor, you just get what the prescription says, right? And you could not get it without the prescription anyways. So what's the point? drug commercials and advertisements directed at children should be illegal everywhere. It grows beyond the belief that it's even allowed. The majority of drugs with these advertisements are not even covered by most people's health insurances because they are so new. Decisions of an OTC medication should be made by your doctor and not the marketing department. The lack of paid parental leave or having to go back to work within a handful of weeks of giving birth. Sure, some states have their own programs, but there is nothing federally. The other thing is your health coverage being linked to your employment. This job-based shit, and I hate it. But if I quit, my essential medication won't be covered until I get hired somewhere else. So I can't risk it. Young kids being beauty pageants is something abnormal in many countries. In some, they have banned it below the age of 13. And from the age of 13 to 16, it's heavily restricted. I see parents put their daughters in these pageants or these programs. They are gone at 11. After doing it for 2 years, these kids look at least 19 when they are dressed up. I think it's horrible to do that to a child. Let her be a kid and have some fun instead of teaching her how to walk correctly and smile always. The other thing is willful ignorance, where opinion is just as valid as a fact. It's frustrating and getting worse every day. There should be enough public shaming in the United States for stupidity. The United States has the greatest range in intelligence in the whole world. Some of the brightest minds mixed with the most arrogant and stupid. It's by design. They are easier to manipulate this way. They actually think it's cool that they don't care about what's happening in the rest of the world and only focus or care about American news. Those oligarchs who bought up the media got the job done. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section. So what I usually say is stay alert, stay focused, don't fall for the government psyop. Nice to meet you, and until the next video, thank you for your attention to this matter.